Hello and welcome to a new installment of the Long Island Daily Roast. We present Three Minds, One Vision. I'm your host, Sal Liotta.
And I'm your host, Gary Lombardi. And today we have a special guest all the way from California, Dr. Vidal Deutsch. And Doris, please introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Doris Vidal Dorsch. I am a doctor in integrative biology with a master's certification on emotional intelligence. And I am really excited to be with you today. Just like your two hosts here, I have a great passion for helping others, and we hope that this will be something that you will be enjoying with us.
So, we just want to give you guys a quick rundown on how it's going to go. So, I'm going to be the example, and we're going to get insight from a serial entrepreneur, Gary, and a doctor, Doris. So, we're going to bring in real life problems. We've broken these episodes down. We're going to try our absolute best to wrap them up anywhere between 15 to 25 minutes. If they're more, I'm sorry, we can't help it. We like to talk to each other. So bear with us as we go through these steps. But our first episode that we want to bring in is self-esteem. And the series is called Three Minds, One Vision because we're taking in real life problems and we're getting three minds to really dissect these issues to help you get further and get a better understanding of the things that you're doing wrong or spots where you may feel stuck. So I'm super excited to get this started. I know Doris and Gary are as well. And the first segment or part to this series is who I am and what is my purpose. That will be broken down into three separate videos: self-esteem, vision, and purpose, and we'll move on from there. But this is Series 2, Episode 1, and it's self-esteem. So let's start this off. So how about we go around and talk about what do we actually feel self-esteem is? Is it a physical attribute or it's something that's brought on in our own mentality, the way we think? I guess we'll start with Gary.
Well, let's see. Self-esteem. I think it's something that is developed. It is our, esteem. We hold something in esteem, in regard, in high regard. Okay, and so relating to ourselves, if we're referring to self-esteem, we're referring to feeling worthy, feeling good, feeling that we are deserving of good things. So, and I think self-esteem, a good, healthy self-esteem, evolves over time with overcoming challenges, difficulties, goals that we set for ourselves, achieving those goals, feeling good that we have this sense of being and this what we're calling self-esteem. Doris, why don't you?
I think that you got it right. That's exactly the right definition. Self-esteem is one of the emotions or feelings that we develop as other feelings. We are born with part of it, and as we continue growing through life, it keeps strengthening or weakening. The beginning of self-esteem develops with our perception of how we fit in this world, right? The things that we can do, the limits that we have, how we fit as part of a group, as part of a community, and how we do the things that we do. Uh, we have begun our series with self-esteem because self-esteem is the foundation of everything.
So Doris, explain this to me, right? Is there different levels to self-esteem? Let me interject one more time. So when I say different levels, I mean when someone has low self-esteem, right? I think most people, suffer with either a little bit of lack of, they feel of self-worth or A lot of people even have a minute amount of low self-esteem. But then you can go down the ladder and dig yourself deeper in a lower and lower self-esteem, to the point where you're like a statue. You don't really know what to do. You're always afraid of what people think about you. And do you think that that has a major effect on people themselves and productivity?
Yes, definitely. There are three, if you look in the literature, there are three main ways how self esteem is perceived. One of them is your normal, healthy self esteem, what we experience from day to day. Then there is the low self esteem, which is a negative perception where you don't feel worthy or capable or a part of something, among other things. And then there is the inflated self-esteem, where you feel like you are too much and you are too worthy and too good, and everybody and everything around you is subordinate or less than you. So both the very high and the very low self-esteem are unhealthy for the individual.
You said very high self-esteems are not healthy either, right? Why is that?
Yes. Well, where that's where you have an ego, right? Where you think that the things that happen around you are not good enough. You are not content with what you have, with the way people treat you. You think that you should be treated better because you deserve better. And it can become really unhealthy because then you become very demanding of others and of situations that are completely out of your control.
And I love that you said that, because me and Gary, see, this is where the examples come in. Everyone watching, I told you it was going to come. So, when I first met Gary, and I've said this 1.5 million times, but this is a new series, and I want to start fresh, I want to reiterate the things that we talked about. So, I had a massive ego, and I'm open to say that. I was very successful in my first business, and I thought that no one could touch me. I felt untouchable, right? It took me to meet Gary and him to actually dissect the things that I was saying and the things that I was doing for me to realize, all right, Sal, there's only one God. You're not one of them. You know what I mean? And Gary was able to really dissect that and humble me out. There's a lot of things I don't know, and I wouldn't say that my self-esteem dropped from then. I think that I'm a little bit more aware now of the things that I do and things that I say, making sure everything matches up, and being straightforward with people. And and I understand that I'm not the best, but you know what? I'm gonna try every day to be my best, and I think that's gonna maintain a healthy self-esteem.
And I think you actually got it because when we have really high expectations and we perceive ourselves in a very unrealistic high way, we don't have the ability to learn new things, to learn from our mistakes, to allow ourselves to make our mistakes, right? It's just we inflate these expectations and then you are stuck in wherever cloud you're flowing, right?
Go
And you
ahead, Gary.
can move from there.
Yeah. So let's shift it a little bit also, Sal, Doris. So we're using the word self-esteem. Low self-esteem, high self-esteem, inflated self-esteem. So let's translate that a little bit into more common terms like not feeling good about ourselves or not feeling uh, um, worthy or what's the word, Doris? Not feeling accomplished or that we can handle the situation. So really low self worth, and then sometimes to compensate, we build this ego. Okay, which is this inflated sense of self, and it borders into narcissism. Okay, that we feel that we are more than we really are, which is a false sense of who we are, and that can be dangerous. It, it is so many people have that in today's society. There are many books about it. It's more of an epidemic than ever before, and it stems from that extreme low of not feeling worthy and the compensation to feel, equivalent and worthy, we become inflated with this sense of who we are. And sometimes that does, in many cases, drive to a successful business career,
Mhm.
but very hard on the personal relationships. It almost makes it impossible to have a sharing, loving relationship, because we have self that is the total love, that we're giving ourselves.
A-
So yeah.
I'm happy you said that because remember we brought this up. We might have been off air when we said it, but I think a lot of times people with social media in particular, they see this life that someone else is flaunting, right? Whether it's real or fake, we all know statistically 80% of it is all a bunch of BS, right? And that's where the narcissism comes in and all that. How big of effect do you think that has on somebody coming up? Where they see that they're doing as much as they possibly can, and they can't seem to catch up with the person that they're looking up to.
I'll just sort of answer that, and then I'll give it to Dr. Doris to sum it up. But I think that there's a rude awakening when we live in this fantasy world of dreams and accomplishments, and uh, we never really get out of that fantasy world. And to accomplish in the real world, we need to be more realistic with ourselves and with our interaction with people and who we are, because not everything is just a fantasy and make believe in our minds and make it happen in our minds. There's certain a groundedness, a certain amount of reality that you have to apply to your visions and successes. Okay, so, and that would, after Dr. Doris answers that, we can go on to the vision aspect of it. But Dr. Vidal, why don't you tell us your view?
Well, self-esteem has two different aspects. One of them is what we believe that others, the way we believe others perceive us, and that is called self-worth, right? So that's the way I think, I imagine everybody else perceives me. And this in social media actually has created a very unhealthy environment for people, especially younger people who are trying to figure out who they are and their place in life, right? So, where your self esteem is how you think yourself are capable to interact with the outside world. But then you have the self worth where you think this is how they view me, right? And so, in the case of social media, we see self worth becoming more important for younger people and for some older people as well, right? What will everybody else think about me and how will they perceive me? And this is very, very unhealthy because it makes people very unhappy, right? When you are thinking about yourself and how good you are at doing your job and interacting with other people and loving other people, is one thing because you have control about that. But when you think about how everybody else is perceiving you, you start losing control of who you are, right? And then you let other people control you. And that is not healthy.
I think a lot of people, and we'll wrap it up after this. I think a lot of people, um, like myself in particular, in the businesses that I've run, image is extremely important. You know, and I hate to say that, but it's true, and a lot of people won't admit it. But I do marketing. Okay, I build platforms like exactly how you're saying for people every single day. I build I have to build an inflated reality for somebody to draw in more business.
So this is a very interesting point. I'm glad you touched on it. Okay, this sense of inflated personality, bigger than life. I think where the problem lies with that, with I've noticed in my dealings with younger people, is that for some, if you buy into that, you relate to it and you go along, okay? But for someone like myself, what happens is because I've had young people that I deal with doing work for me or painting or whatever it may be, odd jobs around the house or something, okay? And because of their inability to be very precise with their words and what they mean and what they say. This whole sense of image gets involved, and their accuracy of conversation is off. Okay, so I find that's not what we said, and I find it very important that words are very important to know what you're saying, and that and if you're a good listener, you're going to listen for the follow up on those words that someone says. And when we live in this bubble of who we are, and we've created this image for ourselves, we're not consistent because, in a way, it's sort of a false identity that we've created. We've created this false identity, and it's very hard to know who that person is ourselves, to know who that is, to be consistent with our words. So somewhere along the line, we lose our footing when dealing, and I find it frustrating. And I deal with a generation that is maybe not as accurate as they need to be, and I find it challenging because it's like this is not what we agreed upon. Okay, and then reasoning and logic on their part comes in to defend it, and it becomes a very immature conversation. And I've learned to just back off of that, realize, and that I'm not going to get anywhere trying. Once there's a conflict, to try to enforce my point is not going to happen then. So, but I usually will go into it with the preparation that I know that people will react and be this way and not be as efficient as they said they were doing. So I think that's very important as we grow. And you may Sal, find that you've found that with yourself a little bit of the conversations that we've had. Definitely. That you realize that when a guy, as you said, like myself, is listening, they don't let you sort of like get away with like pulling the hood down over their eyes, Yeah. So go ahead.
Yeah. So I think what we're going to do is we're at 18 minutes for this video. Guys, if you enjoyed this episode, if you got anything out of it, leave a comment down below. If you're struggling with any of the topics that we're saying in any of these episodes and you don't want us to air your name, or you just want help, our Discord link is in the description. You go down there. We're creating a discussion group full of like-minded individuals where we'll be doing a seminar with everyone once a month. If it's something that interests you, the link's down below. Leave a comment, rate, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video where we tackle vision. Again, I'm your host, Sal Yoda.
I'm your host, Gary Lombardi.
And I am Dr. Doris Vidal-Dorsch.
Our new third host, Dr. Doris Vidal-Dorsch. So we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.